With that, I would yield back, and Ms. Budzinski, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the ranking member. And it's great to have all of you panelists with us here today. Since I joined Congress, I have really made rural development one of my top priorities. I know with a lot of my colleagues serving on this subcommittee. And I'm looking forward to exploring a range of topics with you today. First, I'd love to start with RESP. If I could direct this question to Mr. Winslow. The Rural Energy Savings Program, RESP, provides zero interest loans for energy efficiency upgrades to rural houses. The benefits of this program are numerous, from providing welcome upgrades to our rural infrastructure, reducing energy usage, to lowering energy bills for our residents, which I know is a very important issue for the constituents I represent. Just last week, alongside Assistant Leader Clyburn and Senators Murkowski and Welch, we introduced the Rural Energy Savings Act, which would increase the grant components of this program and authorize RESP for the next Farm Bill. I speak with the Illinois co-ops in my state regularly about the importance of these additional resources for rural communities. And so, Mr. Winslow, can you briefly explain how funding is administered through this program and why a grant component may be necessary, a necessary addition, as this bill that was just introduced last week proposes?
Sure. Thank you, Congresswoman. So co-op staffs across the country are fairly small, and there's really no economic return or incentive for cooperatives to take on some of these programs for the cooperative itself. We see the connections, we facilitate the connections, and then we see the benefit to the communities. Therefore, RESP, as well as any of the other programs, have an administrative burden. And a lot of times they're applications and reapplications, and it takes a lot of time. So I would say 100% support for a grant portion to help those administrative burdens and kind of offer some more resources to the co-op to get the funding.
Okay, thank you. My next question is for Ms. Baumann. Turning now to the bioeconomy. My district produces the most amount of biofuels in the state of Illinois. In your view, what needs to be done to ensure rural communities benefit from the growth and investment in our domestic bioeconomy? Are there gaps in U.S. biomanufacturing that can be addressed over these next 5 years?
Yes, thank you for your question. And there's a significant challenge that the bioeconomy is facing in the lack of pilot and demonstration scale facilities. There's an amazing pilot facility in your district at the University of Illinois, but their schedule is full, and there's increasing demand for that facility and other facilities like that, and it's just not available here in the U.S. And then the further challenge is, once a startup has gone through the sort of pilot phase, they want to move up to the next scale of demonstration phase, and there's a real significant lack of that infrastructure, which is forcing companies to go to Europe or elsewhere where they've invested in their infrastructure, so those facilities are available. So we're now putting at risk that American innovation not coming back to the U.S., or that company not being able to sort of hang on to go to Europe, and that company doesn't go anywhere. So there's a real need for more facilities like IBRL and around the country, along with the next sort of phase up in demonstration scale.
Thank you very much. And I have one additional question, and this last question is for Ms. Morales-Pate. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that I'm currently working with Senator Gillibrand on reintroducing the Rebuild Rural America Act, which would fundamentally transform how we assist rural communities and prioritize revitalization. One of the biggest changes we've been making is an effort to really beef up technical assistance, which we've been talking about today, and capacity building. Your testimony covered the need for more robust national multi-state technical assistance, and I think you've touched on this a little further. Can you tell us more about why this is so important again and why it's needed?
The multi-year technical assistance is very important because the majority of the work that we do in assisting communities developing projects are multi-years. And so it's very important that we stay with the communities for the duration of these projects. You have to keep in mind the average community that we work with is population under 1,000. More often than not, we work with volunteer members. And so that consistency, it's very important, the consistency through the duration of the project.
Thank you so much. I yield back. Thank